All I can say is wow. Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2 went back to its roots of impactful endings and did not disappoint with its focus on the Sekai Taikai. With so many questions leading into the final part of the final season, let's talk about what you missed in Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2. It goes without saying that there are spoilers ahead, so proceed with caution. Let's break down the Easter eggs episode by episode. Episode 6 title, Benvinguts a Barcelona, is Catalan, a Western Romance language used in Eastern Spain, and translates to Welcome to Barcelona, a line Zara says to Tori near the end of the episode. When Gunther states, "Tomorrow, your lives change forever," the camera notably focuses on Quan, foreshadowing the ending of episode 10's Eunjangdo. Johnny, making a promise to end Kreese, calls back to what he threatened his former sensei with in Season 3 Episode 4, The Right Path. He also tells Daniel that Kreese will be taken out of commission, the orders the 84 sensei told Bobby at the All Valley. After Lawrence comes out of the shower, he says, "There's more pressure out of a garden hose," a subtle reference to Daniel's prank on Johnny at the Halloween dance. As Kim Da-eun talks to Tori, we get a few nods to Season 5 in their conversation. She was not focused on the dojo but was focused on Robbie, and Nichols is still upset about breaking her hand on the stone dummy. Kim also states that Tori is not a leader, a nod to the Cobra Kai exercise with Devin. Johnny claims that Daniel punched out Silver at a charity event in the episode Downward Spiral, though we know it was more of a shove. As the Miyagi-Do sensei talks to the Sekai Taikai sponsors, he talks about becoming Miyagi's first student in 1984, describing some of the events of the first Karate Kid film. We also get introduced to Sensei Wolf, portrayed by Louis Tan, marking the second actor from the Mortal Kombat film reboot to be in Cobra Kai, after Josh Lawson made an appearance in Season 5 as a scamming surfer Owen. It's revealed that the headband worn by Mr. Miyagi in the Sekai Taikai is either from the 40s or 50s, meaning he would have fought either before or after World War II, not long after he left Okinawa. As Johnny is showing off his skills, it calls back to a quote he said in Ouroboros, "Give me a pair of nunchucks and it's lights out, baby." When Robbie finally has a chance to talk to Tori, they talk about the past where after Robbie was out of juvie, he stayed with Kreese for a good amount of time as he was out of options. During Kreese and Johnny's conversation, they make mention of the former's escape from prison. The Cobra Kai sensei states that self-defense takes on many forms, almost mimicking Chosen's quote in the episode Miyagi-Do that defense takes on many forms. Speaking of, Taguchi makes his appearance, wearing the same outer shirt that he wore in Survivors and Head of the Snake. We also see one of the same reps from the episode Taikai shaking his head at Chosen's behavior. When Quan asks Robbie if he always walks away from a challenge, Robbie stops and turns around, echoing the Back to the Future franchise where Marty McFly can't stand to have someone call him chicken. Quan states that they should make a bet, calling back to Karate Kid Part 2, where Chosen tells one of the GIs to take a bet for Daniel to break 6 ice. Sam telling Tori, "I would have helped you, just wish you would have come to me," calls back to the conversation Amanda had with Tori in Bicephaly, where she says, "No one can help you if you don't let them. If you ask, you might be surprised." After Quan wins the kicking contest between him and Robbie, he leads a Cobra Kai chant, a nod to the first Karate Kid film and the Season 1 episode Mercy. When Daniel and Johnny talk to Chosen, it's confirmed he did visit Kumiko in Okinawa, but threw his pot on the ground after he figured out what happened, just like Johnny throwing the bonsai tree on the ground near the end of the episode Ace Degenerate. As a nod to Survivors, Johnny once again calls Kumiko Kokomo. When Robbie and Tori struggle to go to sleep, the cinematography reminds me of the 80s rom-coms, and as the two talk about taking a pause, this calls back to the breakup Miguel and Sam had in the episode Playing with Fire. The Sekai Taikai tournament being set up for the first day mimics the opening scenes of Bloodsport, as the arena is also being prepared. Protect the Egg, the strategy Miyagi-Do learned from Chosen in the episode Bad Eggs, is referenced by both Miguel and Tori. History repeats itself as Tori eliminates Devin from the match. Episode 7's title, Dog in the Fight, has a couple of meanings. The phrase means personally involved or affected by the situation, which perfectly describes what Johnny goes through with the Miyagi-Do students. It's also a reference to what happens to Daniel later on in the episode as he's in a dog cage and fights out of the situation. As we see in the opening scene, Johnny and Daniel have conflicting philosophies once again like they did in Season 4 and Season 6 Part 1. The opening also mimics how both Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang did poorly in the skills competition, with Cobra Kai taking the lead, just as Cobra Kai does better than them again in this part of the Sekai Taikai. Daniel questions Chosen drinking himself through heartbreak, something Mr. Miyagi did on the anniversary of the passing of his wife and son. In the hotel room, Dimitri mocks Hawk just as Hawk mocked Dimitri for going to MIT in the previous episode. Daniel explains to Amanda that Mr. Miyagi was against tournaments, calling back to the talk the two had after Halloween and how revenge was not a good reason to learn karate. When arriving at the address, Daniel is left on his own by the cab driver, just like in Head of the Snake. Johnny picks out a muffin, just like him picking out his slice of pizza at Reseda Flats Mini Mart in Ace Degenerate. Sensei Wolf doesn't hold back on Axel for making mistakes, in a darker parallel to Silver nearly going full force with Robbie in the episode Bicephaly. Johnny regresses back to his Cobra Kai days as he belittles Miyagi-Do, saying he saw weakness and warns them that they may turn out like him if they continue to perform at the same level. However, this changes as he comforts Devin like he comforted Robbie in The Rise. Speaking of Season 4, unlike in Let's Begin, Johnny goes through with apologizing and leaving a voicemail on Daniel's phone. As Daniel busts his way out, we see the return of one of Silver's henchmen, Dennis, sporting a Cobra Kai tattoo. He also manages to knee Daniel, just like Daniel did to him in 1985. During the fight, Daniel uses the drum technique and puts Dennis through a table, echoing Daniel crashing into the shelves. During the race platform fight, Zara kicks off one of the West End warriors, who lets out a Wilhelm scream. After Cobra Kai's fight, Eunjangdo holds up a tooth in victory, a nod to Bloodsport. Robbie slams the mat in frustration after being knocked off, just like he did after losing a Hawk in the finals of the All Valley. Devin hits a nice spear on one of Dublin Thunder. Similar to the episode Take a Ride, Johnny gets a call about a health scare regarding someone close to him. At the end of the episode, it's revealed something is going wrong with Carmen's pregnancy, almost completely mirroring what happened to Mr. Miyagi's wife. Episode 8's title, Snakes on a Plane, refers to the 2006 film of the same name. It also refers to Johnny and Miguel on the flight to California. Kreese tells Quan, "Now the real fun begins," mirroring Silver's famous line, "Now the real pain begins," from Karate Kid Part 3. Just like in the episode Taikai, Kim Da-eun expresses her concern about Cobra Kai's rivalry with Miyagi-Do once again. Chozen swears to patrol to make sure Cobra Kai does not strike, just like he did in Season 5. Kenny gets a visit from Amanda, just like he got a visit from Robbie in the episode Then Learn Fly, and both visits have conversations involving Anthony. On the plane, Miguel mentions Johnny's mistake of drinking during the birth of Robbie. At the club, Chozen tells Kim Da-eun, "Maybe you're looking to make trouble for Miyagi-Do," a callback to where he told Daniel in Karate Kid Part 2, "Maybe trouble looking for you." As pointed out by my good friend Peter at Companion Network, Quan whispering in Tori's ear is a nod to where Johnny forcibly kissed Allie at the country club while Daniel was watching. Back at the LaRusso household, Amanda and Anthony watch a different angle of Kenny's accident in the episode Underdogs. During the conversation, she demands that her son apologize to Kenny, a nod to the deleted scene of Season 4, where Amanda nudges Anthony to talk to Kenny. When Chozen has one of the bar patrons on the ground, he threatens to break his neck, another Karate Kid Part 2 callback where he told Daniel, "Broken ice or broken neck." Quan throws out a couple of Karate Kid film references. He offers to keep Tori warm tonight, paraphrasing Chozen saying he would take Kumiko home in Karate Kid Part 2, and he tells Robbie, "Come on, make a move," the same thing Dutch told Daniel before the 1984 All Valley, rest in peace. Another Karate Kid callback is made when Kenny strikes first by hitting Anthony in the nose, just like Daniel struck Johnny the same way on the beach. Amanda urging the boys to stop the rivalry parallels Carmen's talk to Johnny about being the bigger man in the episode All In, where she warns him about how rivalries don't end well. Back on the plane, Johnny takes the Miyagi-Do approach by dodging the jerk's punch, and Miguel pulls a Daniel by striking the patron in the nose. Similar to the episode Different But Same, Yasmin breaks up with Dimitri because of foolish behavior at a party or outing, just like Sam broke up with Miguel. Amanda telling Kenny that grudges are hard to overcome echoes Chozen telling Daniel in the episode Miyagi-Do that regret is sometimes difficult to overcome. Thankfully, the show does not go through fully with the complications at birth, as it's revealed Carmen is okay, though it does mirror how Adrian woke up from her coma for also having complications at birth in Rocky 2. Carmen urging Miguel and Johnny to win also mirrors Adrian telling Rocky to do the same thing, and it's interesting to note that the song Fight Night, which plays during the fight Johnny and Daniel have on the beach, plays in the background as Miguel and Johnny are motivated. Carmen also notes that karate brought the family together, a nice nod to the show's humble beginnings. Back at the hotel, Kreese tells Daniel that actions have consequences, the same thing Silver told Daniel before the fight at Stingray's apartment, and is also the same name of the song that plays during that fight. And of course, the big reveal at the end mirrors one of the infamous scenes of Karate Kid Part 3. Episode 9's title, Blood In, Blood Out, refers to a criminally underrated movie that was also scored by Bill Conti, the composer for the Karate Kid films. It could also foreshadow the ending of Episode 10. Hayden Schlossberg, one of the big three and a notable Terry Silver fan, plays Terry's attorney, Ezra. As he talks to Silver, it's revealed that the case was thrown out and that Stingray and Burt try to testify against him. Ezra tells Silver that he doesn't want him going into a downward spiral, the title of episode 4 of season 5, and what Kreese assumed Johnny would go into had he not focused during the 1984 All Valley. He also mentions the fate of Snake. He passed away. Similar to Karate Kid Part 3, Silver offers to buy the dojo and pay off Wolf's debts. Ezra tries to convince Silver to think about his legacy, his goal in season 5, but his only concern is revenge, the same goal he had in Karate Kid Part 3. As we flash back to the fight scene between Daniel and Dennis, it's revealed that Dennis has a last name, De Guzman. Terry offers to buy a massage for Kreese, just like the old days, again another nod to Karate Kid Part 3. In response, the lesson of the prize as told by Kim Sun-young is almost enacted had Kreese not been stopped by Kim Da-eun. Johnny calls Silver a ponytailed prick, the same thing he described him as at the beginning of the episode Survivors. During her fight, Zara manages to slide under her opponent as Miguel did in the episode Mercy. When Miguel gives Robbie the pep talk, he references how his brother bravely walked in to get students to leave Cobra Kai and how he recruited Kenny to Miyagi-Do. Tori interrupts Zara's live and states that she steals boyfriends, the same thing Sam accused Tori of in the episode Bicephaly. One of the senseis of Tiger Strike is named Oksana, who is portrayed by AEW wrestler Dr. Britt Baker, who notably had a segment with Martin Kove, who appeared as John Kreese in an episode of AEW Dynamite in February 2022. As I joked about in my trailer breakdown, one of the Tiger Strike students gives Tori an attitude adjustment. Silver tries his age-old strategies of manipulation again as he has a conversation with Kenny Payne. However, this backfires as his speech has a double meaning that plays in Kenny's head during the fight. I thought you wanted to win, which motivates Kenny to prove to Silver he is a winner. This also happened in season 5, as Silver said Cobra Kai builds winners because we're willing to do whatever it takes to come out on top, which was true. Johnny was able to go into a rage and fight back against the senseis. Redentores, Miyagi-Do's opponents, have one of their students seemingly use capoeira, a Brazilian martial art that has an element of dance, notably used by Eddie Gordo from Tekken. Thanks to the encouragement from Miguel, Robbie locks in as he did in his fight with Miguel during Best of the Best and tags in Kenny. One of my favorite scenes is the team pep talk Miyagi-Do has before the fight with Cobra Kai. Dimitri and Hawk reconcile like they did in season 3. Devin mentions there's no crying in karate, parallel to Johnny telling Miguel there's no tapping in karate in the episode Counterbalance, and Miguel tells Eli and Dimitri they will always be his brothers, a touching nod to their friendship since season 1. Robbie asking, "Who are we?" also reminds me of the Team USA psych-up during halftime in D2 The Mighty Ducks. Before they go out, Johnny tells the team to kick some Cobra Kai ass, the same thing Daniel said to Sam before her finals match with Tori in season 4. Kreese quotes a famous philosophy of his to Quan: defeat does not exist in this dojo. The Binary brothers are working together just like they did for the first time in the episode December 19th, and Dimitri has Kenny bounce off of him like Sam did in the episode All In. Although I hadn't mentioned this before, it's interesting to note that the symbolism that Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai have once again is yin and yang, and just like in Karate Kid Part 1 in Season 1, the score is tied 2-2 for Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai, with the next point winning. Robbie notably blocks Quan's kicks with ease just like Quan did to Yoon and others in the episode Sleeper. Although subtle, when Johnny tells Devin that Robbie is making it hurt, this somewhat echoes Paulie telling Apollo in Rocky 3 that he's getting mad. One of my favorite moments of the fight is when Robbie scores the final point and how symbolic it is. Robbie manages to land the point with a kick where Quan was going for a punch. If you remember in Season 4, this also happened. Hawk managed to land his point by performing a kick, and it seemed like Robbie was also going for a punch or fell short of his kick. For the first time since the 1985 All Valley, Miyagi-Do manages to defeat Cobra Kai and knock them out of a tournament, for now at least. Daniel jokes with Johnny that he defeated Kreese in his first tournament, referencing the finals of the 84 All Valley. It's revealed that Miyagi's match in the Sekai Taikai ended fatally, calling back to what Chosen said in the episode Miyagi-Do: sometimes you have no choice but to kill. Episode 10's title, Eunjangdo, refers to the blade Kim Sun-young gifted to Kreese. It's also a very significant part of the show's ending. In the beginning dream sequence, the subtitles say, "This is the moment you've been waiting for," the same thing the announcer said before the 84 All Valley Finals, but instead said, "The moment we've been waiting for." We see a young Miyagi wearing the original patch his wife made for him on the back of his gi. Miyagi scoffs at Daniel for asking about a lesson, much like how he would scoff at some of the ridiculous things Sato would say in Karate Kid Part 2. We see a deepfake of the late Pat Morita, marking the second deepfake we've seen after what we saw in the episode Ouroboros. This turns out to be a nightmare, similar to the opening of the episode Obstaculos, where Sam has one as well. Tori is seen holding the bottle cap she gave her mom long ago, as seen in the episode Best of the Best. As Kreese begins to enact Kim Sung-young's lesson, we see flashbacks to the episodes The Rise and The Prize, while we also hear Terry state from the episode Then Learn Fly about John letting sleeping dogs lie. The Russian team Tiger Strike is eliminated from the Sekai Taikai for performance-enhancing drugs. This is significant because it ties back to Rocky IV, one of Gunther's favorite films, as it was shown and also said that Russian boxer Ivan Drago was also taking these same types of enhancements as well. Dmitry makes a joke that one of the fights is Sam vs. Tori Bajillion, referencing the numerous fights they've had since Season 2. A subtle Karate Kid reference is made as Johnny kicks the ball on the beach, just like Allie did when she saw Johnny and his friends riding in. After his pep talk, Kreese tells Tori, "I can't hear you," the same thing he said to his Cobra Kai students to repeat the mantra in the original film. As I've talked about in my Why Miguel Diaz is the Chosen One video, it's very fitting that Miguel is the one getting Daniel and Johnny to focus, as he possesses notable qualities from each and talks about both of his sensei's feats, from molding a bullied kid into the All-Valley champion and crane kicking Silver out of the valley. We then see a training montage where the first few shots imitate Rocky running through the city and also ends with Robbie and Sam celebrating after running up some stairs. Gunther states, "The moment you've all been waiting for," again referencing the intro of this episode and Karate Kid Part 1, while Daniel was walking in his patch, mirroring the introduction of this episode as well. Back at the LaRusso household, Anthony jokes with his mom about having homemade pizza last time, as seen in the episode Taikai. Daniel tells Sam, "Here we are, the moment of truth," referencing the theme song of the first Karate Kid film, which Carrie Underwood sings during the episode The Fall, and the title of Season 2, Episode 4. Kim Da-eun compliments Tori by telling her that Zara probably couldn't break Slate Rock, again referencing the events of the episode Survivors. Before his match, Robbie is told by his father, "You earned it," the same thing he told Miguel in Counterbalance, and the name of the song that played during that scene. Daniel tells Robbie to give him all you got, the same advice he gave Hawk right before sudden death in Season 4. Notably, Robbie's fight with Axel reminds me of the film Game of Death, where Hai Tien struggles with Mantis until he realizes that he has a weakness to light. Sensei Wolf yelling at Axel to attack also calls back to Rocky IV, where Ivan suddenly goes on the offensive in his fight with Apollo Creed after his trainer yells at him to do so. Just like Seasons 2, 3, and 5, the tournament erupts into an all-out brawl in Cobra Kai tradition. Robbie is hit with a Cobra Kai headbutt just like in Season 2 and 5, and Silver is seen wearing a very similar outfit to what he wore in the episode Ouroboros. Oksana pulls off a Uranage, also known as a rock bottom. Like in Season 5, Robbie is ganged up on, but this time fights his way out of it, having learned from that fight. Oksana pulls out another wrestling move and almost puts Kim Da-eun in a sleeper, but Chosen intervenes and makes the fight 2-on-2, echoing Mr. Miyagi saving a Cobra Kai member in Karate Kid Part 2. Nate mentions that he and Bert have mad brawl experience, referencing the fights once again in Seasons 2, 3, and 5. Sensei Wolf hits Johnny in the back of the head, just like Silver did in Party Time. Meanwhile, Kreese makes his way through the crowd, pushing people out of his way like Hawk did in the school fight. Gunther gets his revenge and tells the Tiger Strike sensei goodbye in Russian. Another callback to Season 3 is made when Johnny is saved by Daniel from Sensei Wolf. Robbie shows his skills and knocks down both Quan and Yoon like Quan did to Min Sol and Chung Hee in Sleeper. We see another callback to the school fight where Robbie throws Zara off of Tori like he threw Tori off of Sam. During the long-awaited Kreese vs. Silver fight, Silver sticks to using the shadows and surprises as he catches Kreese off guard with the punch, also alluding to Johnny's quote about Silver's MO. Despite Kreese saying earlier in the episode that Sam wasn't her friend, LaRusso comes in to Tori's aid once again, just like in Head of the Snake. Quan shouts out Keen, like Kenny did in the episode Taikai. One interesting thing to note is that when Axel saves Sam from Quan, the quiver motif is playing in the background. Although likely unintentionally, I believe Quan laughing maniacally and reaching for the Eunjangdo is a nod to Goro Majima from the Yakuza series. Silver talks about the flashback of he and Kreese in Vietnam and taunts his former buddy that he should have stayed in his cage. This is interrupted by Johnny, who returns the sucker kick he received in Party Time and this time wins the exchange with Silver. Another callback to Party Time is made when Silver calls Johnny Pretty Boy once again, which in itself is a reference to the episode Strike First, where Amanda calls Johnny the same thing. Unfortunately, the show ends with tragedy just like the episode No Mercy, and it also involves a Cobra Kai student. Quan dies due to accidentally landing on the Eunjangdo when Axel blocks his kick. Let's talk about my correct predictions and overall thoughts on Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2. Now thankfully, they didn't go through with it, but I was half right about the Carmen storyline. They did tease making another Mr. Miyagi parallel where Johnny almost lost Carmen and the baby, like Mr. Miyagi lost his wife and son due to pregnancy complications. I talked about this as early as my first Cobra Kai Season 6 Theories video more than 2 years ago, and more recently in my trailer breakdown video. This truly proves that Johnny was modeled to have many similarities with Mr. Miyagi as a character in Cobra Kai. It also looks like I was right about Silver not having assistance from Kim Da-eun. This was confirmed in the episode The Prize, but Silver's return in Season 6 Part 2 and his interactions with Kreese solidified this even more. Speaking of Silver himself, I did predict his return, as again, the show was not going to end without an appearance from Hayden's favorite character. I also called the long-awaited Kreese vs. Silver fight, as I talked about it in my What Will Happen in Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2 video. Another prediction I made, though honestly anyone could have predicted it, that both Dimitri and Hawk made up just in time for the big fight with Cobra Kai. Regarding Kenny, Anthony, and Devin, this was also correctly predicted in the same video, though with some changes. Devin did come clean about cheating to Kenny, and Kenny and Anthony did get into another fight briefly, just not a final decisive one. Which to me was okay because I don't think Anthony really needed a win over Kenny. Thankfully, we did get some cuts back and forth between the Valley and Barcelona as predicted, though I'm still hoping for Leah to truly finish this arc between the two, even if they are no longer at odds, and have finally put things to rest. While it wasn't much, and I expect we'll get the answers in Part 3, or Karate Kid Legends, we did get some more insight into Miyagi's history at the Sekai Taikai and how his opponent ended up dying. Finally, the last prediction I got correct was Sensei Wolf getting into a fight with Johnny. I'm glad this ended ambiguously, as the show didn't just give Daniel and Johnny the W, showing how truly formidable Sensei Wolf is. For overall thoughts, this part was much better than Part 1. Given the feel of the trailer, these 5 episodes were meant to be what was great about the 51st All Valley on steroids. The fights were excellent and lived up to the hype of what some of the actors said they would be. This also has to be the best cliffhanger the show has ended on since Season 2. I always thought that a major main character in the present day wouldn't die until the final season, and that was also a prediction that came true. I know Season 2 is not a favorite season for a lot of fans, but the cliffhanger was impactful, and given how I waited almost 3 years to figure out what would happen to Miguel, as I originally watched the series when it was on YouTube, I didn't think anything would top it. But given the sudden showstop after Kwan's death, it just leaves you wanting more. I personally love the return of not only Silver but Dennis, and my only complaint is that Snake should have been there as well. Another one of my favorite scenes, as I mentioned before, is the locker room scene with Miyagi-Do before their fight with Cobra Kai. When the team reflects that they'll be the last time they'll fight together as a team, the acting of the scene is really good, and I think it was a true bonding moment that the cast was having, realizing that they had been together for so many years, and this is one of the last times that they'll be together. For the most part, the tournament was written very well. Neither Cobra Kai nor Miyagi-Do were initially prepared, and some of the other dojos were great adversaries and highly skilled, especially the Iron Dragons. This actually made the tournament much less predictable, including the use of the brawl to leave things ambiguous. I think this is probably one of the better parts of any season yet, and now we can only wonder how it all ends. It's almost here, the end of the Cobra Kai series. As always, it's been great being on this journey with you guys, and it's been an amazing time. While we wait for Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 3, go check out some of my other content in the meantime to get you up to speed.